So we are live. I'm here with Christopher. Did I
Hmm?
say your name properly?
That is so good. It's perfect.
Excellent. And how do you pronounce your last name?
Gerstrøm.
Do you know what that means?
Uh, I actually think it's from Sweden, but ström it can mean like I don't even know the like something that is floating or it can also mean power. Like ström can be like something you have in the like lightning.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, but my last name I don't know actually the meaning.
Okay.
Many Danish last names tend to not mean so much. Even normally it's something like some most Danish last names are like means you are someone's son or daughter, or
Yeah.
it means that
Geographical
it,
place, maybe sometimes.
yeah. Hmm.
And
A very
Christopher.
common thing.
Christopher is a good name. That means the bearer of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You bear Christ. You have Christ within you. I think that's what it means.
Mm.
Christopher, or the light of Christ. Is that right?
I think it means the bearer of Christ, like
Yeah.
I think it come from Greek, Christopheros.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my wife is Greek. I lived
I'm
I
like
lived in Greek.
almost 100% Danish. I have some Swedish roots, but mostly I'm from Scandinavia,
Oh,
100%.
okay. Yeah. Well, my ancestors are Scottish, so we've got some Scandinavian blood for sure, because you guys like to come over and spread your
Mm.
wild oats in Scotland.
Yes,
So
a lot of the
maybe,
English
yeah,
language,
huh?
and actually a lot of the English language also. I think it's from much of it is from Danish. Actually, I've read.
Oh,
A Danish king ruled over Britain once. So
nice. So take us all the way back to your childhood and talk about your upbringing, what the family was like in terms of religion, philosophy. Were you
mm,
born and raised Catholic, or what happened? Just talk through the whole story from beginning up until
mm,
today, and tell us how old you are today too.
mm. Yes, again, I can begin. My name is Christopher Gerstrøm. I am 18, almost 19 years old. And actually, I'm not born Catholic, I'm a convert. Most of my family, like the most common religion in Scandinavia is Protestantism. Uh, Evangelical Lutheran, I think it's called. But actually, most of my family is only Christian in a cultural sense. Um, and I decided to. I was not baptized, so but I found out like I think when I was 15 that I was a Christian. So I decided to. No, I did not decide to anything, but I did. But I decided to like affirm that I'm a Christian because I do not believe that the humans just come from stardust and ape like the Big Bang theory and the evolution theory tells. I think that there's a creator and much more behind it, and I
Amazing.
think life would be meaningless without a God. So Christianity always made much sense to me. So my father, who actually gave me the name Christopher, he's a very hardcore atheist. But anyway, I decided to become Christian. But the most common church in Denmark, which is called Folkekirken, it is basically the state's church, the state-owned church, which is it has its own department. But I saw much like you see in the Anglican Church. It is not serious Christianity. It's most like it looks like most of a cultural institution, more like moreover an actually church where you praise Christianity. So that's why I have Catholic friends. So I was like I decided to. to for that reason start a process to become Catholic and not become a part of the common Danish church.
Wow, amazing. Um,
Mm.
I was just looking up here on the internet, Danish saints. We have Pope Lucius the First. I didn't know we had a Danish pope. And we have Ansgar. Ansgar, do you know about him? Saint Anders of Slagelse?
Mm.
Slagelse? Saint Anders.
Slesvig.
Okay. We have Canute
Uh,
the Fourth of Denmark. Canute the Fourth of Denmark, I guess, was a king of Denmark from 1080 to
mm,
1086. We have another Danish prince. We have Henry of Coquet. He was, I guess, on the Northumberland coast. Saint Kjeld, 12th century
mm,
clergyman. So you have a few saints uh, in Denmark. You also have, I think, Kierkegaard, who's not a saint, but he's a
mm.
philosopher, right? Is he Danish?
Søren Kierkegaard, yes, he's Danish. I think he's wasn't he more like a
Yeah,
nihilist?
yeah, but he talked
Uh,
about the leap of faith. He may have been a fideist where he abandoned. I'm not sure, but he may have been one of these who divorced reason from faith. Like a lot of
mm,
Protestantism has to divorce faith and
mm,
reason because they don't have any basis for uniting
mm,
faith and reason, whereas the Catholic faith
mm,
has solid foundation in faith and reason, and it can unite them together, and we can live with the tension between faith and reason. But the Protestants, if you press them, they will discover they don't have a basis for that. That's one of the fundamental problems that was pointed out
mm,
in the Regensburg Address by Pope Benedict XVI. He talked about that. He talked about Islam. It's the same problem. They don't have faith and reason united. And so it's a very big problem if you're intellectual and you want to explore the foundations of your faith. You're going to run into big, big problems. And the Calvinists, for example, some of them outright denied having free will, for example, because they could not reconcile the tension between
mm,
grace and God's sovereignty on one hand and our
mm,
free will on the other hand. So they resolved the tension, but in doing
mm,
so, they made absurd worldview, which is not worthy of belief, in my humble opinion.
mm. I tend to agree. I don't know much about the history in that sense, but like I've seen many problems with the Protestant Church over and all. I can see it at home when I hear I'm not myself baptized, or what is the English word for confirmated? Is that a word?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Confirmated, yes. I was neither. Um, and when I hear my friends tell their stories about how they were baptized and confirmated, more specifically confirmated, I think I tend to think that it is not that serious. It sounds like the priest, the pastor, is not taking the faith seriously. If you can, it tends to be like more of a ritual tradition, more like based on the Christian faith.
Yeah, there's a social club, and in
Yes.
the Catholic faith, in the Catholic community, all around the world, we
Mm,
have pockets of, and this is not to sound snobby like I'm superior, but there are pockets of true faithful Catholics, and then there are many, many people who only participate because it's their culture. We call this
yes.
cultural Catholicism, cultural Catholicism. So I'm sure you've
Mm,
encountered that even at your young age. But I've met people at church and they were having a baptism as an adult, or they were having a confirmation as an adult. And I spoke with them afterwards, and they made it very, very clear it was part of a process to get married to a Catholic, or it was part of a process to,
mm,
same thing if they baptize their child, it's often just part
mm,
of a family pressure or tradition.
mm,
And you're lucky if these people go to mass twice a year, Christmas and Easter, because it's a cultural Catholicism, and
mm,
they may also be friendly to Catholicism. So if they had to, maybe they would feel pride to be on the team and check the box, I'm Catholic. Maybe others may be indifferent, or some of these people may even hate the church, but they do what they have to do just to grease the wheels of in society so that they can keep their position or whatever. So it's a very tragic compromise. And I would prefer that people only adhere to a worldview if they really, really, really believe it, and they are in love with their beliefs, and they strongly believe that it's true. And I don't care what your worldview is, but please examine it, and please commit to it. Make a commitment, because mediocrity is a big problem. I don't know how you say mediocrity in Danish, but
I think the Danish term would be okay. It must be, maybe it's hard for you to pronounce. Middelmådighed.
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 Yes, about that. It's the Danish D. Sometimes it's pronounced like the th,
I
like,
see.
but more softly. Middelmådighed.
I see. Okay. But you understand the concept, right? Where you're not 100% committed. It's only a partial commitment. And so, for example, I was a Satanist before becoming a monotheist. And it was by diving deep into it and examining it that I became disgusted with it. And that's the only way. So, I think I don't know if you know Mother Teresa of Calcutta. She worked with the poor in India and this sorts of things. She's an Albanian saint. The little
Yes,
lady. She spoke very passionately against abortion and stuff like that. She talked about if you're a Hindu, be the best Hindu you can be. If you're Muslim, be the best Muslim you can be. And if you're Catholic, be the best Catholic you can be. And a lot of people find that aggravating. They think, no, everyone should be Catholic. But my understanding, having been raised Protestant and having lived through 25 years of atheism and going into Satanism, my experience tells me that if you take your worldview seriously, whatever it is, and you examine it, you will end up Catholic. You will end up Catholic, because we have questions, and only Christ and his church have the answers that make sense. Only Christ and his church. So we all have questions. The only problem is, do you have the courage to ask the question? Because it's painful when you're part of a club and your peers, your friends, and those who are in the hierarchy of your worldview, they're not going to like some of the questions, and maybe they're not going to like the fact that you wake up and you want to change teams, right?
Yes. No. I agree.
There's a big peer pressure in every community. Even like I always say, even if you're rooting for your favorite local sports team, if you start cheering for the other sports team, you're going to feel pressure. You may be physically attacked.
Yes.
And that's just sports. That's just sports. So imagine with the religion. It's amazing. So do you have a big problem in your country with alcoholism? Because it's a reputation you have in Scandinavia.
I think that I don't know what the alcohol laws are in Canada, but I know that in Denmark versus the USA, it is like, I think the United States have
21 you can drink.
Legal drinking and purchasing age on alcohol. It is 21.
Yep.
Of course, you see tendencies. People drink a little before.
Yep.
I think it's the same in Denmark, mostly. In Denmark, there's actually no legal drinking age. You can drink whenever you want. As like, of course, if you're a parent who are serving your very small child alcohol, you're probably gonna end up in prison. But that's another. Yeah, that's another case. But in Denmark, you can legally buy alcohol when you are 16. But people tend to drink a little before that. I think I started myself when I was I didn't really start before I was 16, 15, but I was my first party where we drank was like I think about 14.
Okay.
But on the other hand, I can see very much in the United States. I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but I tend to see young people, instead of drinking, they are smoking marijuana, and I think
Oh,
I tend to believe it's worse.
yeah, yeah,
Because I myself know people who are stoners, and I think I would prefer them to drink because you tend to drink only when it's when you are partying. Many of the people I know who smoke are smoking almost every day. So always I will prefer alcohol
yeah,
over over weed. So,
yeah, absolutely. You know, I had a very bad experience on marijuana when I was in my early 20s. I must have been 19 or 20,
mm.
probably 20, and I overdosed on hashish while eating hashish and
uh,
smoking at a party, outdoor festival, music festival, and it was a nightmare. It was very, very bad. Hallucinations for 12 hours straight. Like I was really, really messed up, and
mm.
that started uh, a lot of psychological problems that I had for a full year with anxiety and panic attacks and
Then
these sorts of things. And it started me on a journey of introspection, a confrontation with fear,
mm.
fear, fear of fear, abstract fear. You know,
Yes,
which is
I know
connected
what you
also with existential fear. And I think Kierkegaard may have been an existentialist. He may have been like the grandfather of the existentialist philosophy. I don't know if you studied philosophy. You're very young, so you may not have studied too
a
much.
little, but more like political philosophy.
Ah, okay. Okay, okay. So maybe later we could talk about Marx and different stuff like that.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah?
I
Okay.
wait,
And
I've been in
Hegel.
politics since I was I've been in politics actually since I was about 13, but like I've changed views before
Yeah.
since that. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's interesting, you know, it's interesting having a guest who's very young. I consider you very young because my average guest is probably in their 40s or something like that. But and I'm 52, I'm going to be 53 soon. So I'm older, much older. But when I was 20, like I said, I had that introspection and that led. I was always a very philosophically minded person. So I was an atheist at the time. And only at age 39, I came back to God. So it was a long journey. But I want to, before we talk about politics, I want to ask you about the demons and Satan and temptation and the dark side of spirituality. Because a lot of people who are superficial about religion, they don't necessarily engage in the warfare, the battle, the spiritual battle with their own demons, much less the demons that are attacking the family or the society. So I want you to talk about why it's important to you to recognize the reality of the fall of Satan, the fall of Adam and Eve. And you talked about creation versus evolution. I'm a young earth creationist. I believe the whole universe is less than 10,000 years old. So I want you to talk about the spiritual battle that's been happening for the past 10,000 years or so, and how you personally fight with prayer, with the sacraments, confession, and talk about some of your experiences with the sacrament of confession, please.
um, if you think about confession as in church, I will mention that I'm about to actually I'm about right now to convert. I've like thought of as I wanted to be a member of the church since a long time, but like I'm about now to convert.
Oh, really? Okay, 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 okay.
Uh,
Ah,
but
so what
actually, I'm
have you
about
done?
to.
Have you studied with the RCIA, the Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults? Do you have a program where you're being educated by people in the church, or are you just studying on your own
I'm
independently?
studying on my own right now, but I'm about to seek education from a priest, of course.
Ah, wow.
That's like how long I've I thought that's how far my spiritual journey is.
Wow, wow, exciting, very exciting. So do you have a date, like for example, next Easter, will you enter the church next Easter, or is it too late to enter the church this Easter?
Can you ask that again?
Do you know we're in the season of Easter?
Hmm.
It's do you understand the word Easter?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we're in that season now. Easter's coming. That's traditionally that's the season when new people come into the church. Did you know
Hmm.
that?
Actually not, but
Okay, yeah, that's when traditionally when we welcome new people in. But it
mhm.
might be too late now for this year. You might have to wait till next year to come in. But me personally, when I came in the church, I did not come in at Easter because they made an exception for me because it's just a tradition.
Hmm.
So they can make exceptions for you. With me, I was in an urgent situation where the demonic forces were trying to sabotage, and the priest recognized it and he said, "No, we're not going to wait. We're going to do it now because it's we're in a battle. We're going to attack. We're
Hmm.
going to bring
Hmm.
David in now." So that's what they did for me. They didn't wait till the following Easter. So speak with your priest and find out if you can come
Hmm.
in this year or if they're going to make you wait till next year. Hopefully they won't make you wait, but if they do make you wait, it's
Hmm.
for your own good so you can take that time to study and to learn.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, yeah, you don't have a lot of experience so far with the sacrament of
Hmm.
confession. You've never been to confession.
Actually not.
Ah, exciting. So,
I'm very
yeah.
new to it actually, but I'm very sure of my choice.
Yeah. Well, it's very liberating. And so do you mean to tell me that you've never been baptized? Even today, you've never been baptized?
I've never been baptized now.
Oh my God. So this is amazing. So I hope you
Hmm.
know and understand what baptism is. It's way better than anything else because not only will your sins be forgiven, but all of the temporal punishment due to your sin is wiped away clean. You're
Hmm.
like if you die at that moment of when you're baptized, you go straight to heaven, right? So you're perfectly clean, no purgatory.
Hmm.
So hopefully you will honor that purity and try to stay pure and clean and not sin. But if you do fall into sin, you have confession and you can go to confession. Okay. So
Hmm.
in preparation for your first communion and well
Hmm.
for your baptism, you're going to have to learn the faith. You're going to have to submit to the church. You're going to have to profess
Hmm.
with your lips Christ is King
Hmm.
and Christ is God. And you have to profess the creed. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, etc., etc. And
Hmm.
you're going to have to, acknowledge the faith of Christ and His Church. So it's
Hmm.
very exciting. So yeah, I really, I'm very proud of you. I'm very happy for you, and it's so exciting. I hope you realize how important baptism is.
Hmm.
Every morning and every evening, I renew my baptismal vows because when you take the vows of baptism, it's a promise to God that you will remain on his team, that you'll be fighting the good fight, as St. Paul says. And so every
Hmm.
morning and every evening, I renew that vow of my baptism because it's the most important grace and sacrament that we have is baptism. Very important. So
Hmm.
I congratulate you for coming into the church.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. So among your friends, are your friends uh, cradle Catholics? They came into the church as in the family as children, or did they convert as teenagers or as adults? So do you know?
My friends?
Yeah, your friends who are Catholic.
No, no. One of my friend is. Many of my friends are pretty much atheists. I have talked to them
Oh,
very much, but
okay.
like I hope I can what's the English word for that? I hope I can convince them of the truth. I believe it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I've have a lot of discussions with my friends actually about it. But my one friend, he converted himself.
Oh, okay. Ah,
Um
he's your
we found
age.
out. But
He's your age, the same age as you.
no, no, he's a little older than me. I think
Okay.
he's about to turn 23. I no, 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 26.
Okay.
So he's I have friends in the both younger than me and older than me. So
Yeah.
my friends vary very much in age.
Wow, very cool. So, uh, have you started with a prayer life like in the morning? Do you pray in the evening? Do you pray? Do you pray with your food? Do you say prayers, blessing your food and these sorts of things, or are you just learning now how to pray in the
I'm
Catholic way?
about to learn. I tend to do that at the night before I sleep,
Yeah,
but I'm trying to do it more and more. So
yeah,
as my friend said, I actually said I had a conversation with him. He said I was like I tend to forget it sometimes. It's
yeah,
not very good.
yeah,
I try to become better. He says to me, remember just like you remember to brush your teeth. It is important. And I try to better it. To be honest, I try to commit it. I try to commit myself to it, but it's just I'm very new to it,
yeah.
it's like just the beginning for me.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, I converted in 2009,
Mm,
and to this day, I struggle with prayer. Prayer is difficult. It's not easy. Maybe you will have a better gift than I have, but it's difficult. But I pray every day,
mm,
and you know, God looks at the heart. He looks at your intention, and
mm,
so I struggle and I pray, and often when I eat a meal, like I eat my meal, and then I remember, oops, I forgot to bless my meal. I forgot to give thanks, and so I do it after. So
mm,
even to this day, I still forget. So
mm,
you're human, and you know
mm,
you're younger than I was when I converted. So
mm,
you won't be as negligent as I have been. But God also understands the human, how
mm,
frail we are. We're very delicate creatures. We're very
mm.
distracted by the world and our obligations. And I don't know if you're studying or if you're working. What's your situation?
I'm both. I'm studying what the basically is. It is like high school, but for I no not high school. I think the Danish education system is a little different than in America's. In Denmark, you have 9 years, 9 or 10 years of what you call elementary slash high school, and then you were, and after that you're spending between 2 and 3 years of our way of high school. I'm taking 2 years, and I'm like I was very late to take it, so I'm like I'm taking kind of what is high school for adults right
I
now,
see. I
uh,
see.
and
Okay.
uh, and I'm about to start a job as a fundraiser. I'm going to a job interview this
Ah,
Thursday as a fundraiser in a non-profit organization called Red Barnet, Save the Save the Children.
ah,
So that is what I am doing right now.
nice, amazing. So what are they saving the children from? The children are in
I, I
danger of what? A danger of hunger or drugs, alcohol? What is the danger?
think it's very much everything. It's about helping kids in Africa, I think, and it is about. I think they are doing different campaigns and
Okay,
trying to help different people.
okay.
But it's I think it's about kids.
So basic education, food,
Mm,
water, basic
so
stuff, simple
I
stuff,
think.
simple
Mm,
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good.
mm,
Amazing. So you're getting involved in charitable works. There is a controversy between, as you know, between the Catholic and non-Catholic Christians pertaining to works. Can we work our way into heaven? And of course, that's not the way it is in the Catholic understanding. But there is still a component of our walk with God where we have to work. We have to do works.
mm,
Jesus said time and time again, "If you love me, keep my commandments." You have to keep the commandments, the 10 Commandments. So what is your perspective on the 10 commandments? Are you familiar with all 10, and do you have an understanding about uh, how they
Actually,
work in your life with morality and these sorts of things?
I think many. As I think know the most of them. I do not. I cannot count all 10 like just in my head, but I know, of course, it is like basic human rules. It is do not steal, do not kill, do not cheat on your wife, do not
Do not lie.
do not lie. You have to honor your mom and dad. Uh, but actually, I struggle to remember all 10 of them. Like just in my head, just
Yeah,
my head.
yeah, of course, yeah, of course.
But, it is basically what you can say, basic human rules,
Yeah,
and most of them non-Christians also practice a lot of them, like as moral obligations.
yeah. Our laws are based primarily on the 10 commandments. Our laws
Mm,
are civil laws, criminal laws, these sorts of things. So I
mm,
have a trick for you. I don't know if it'll help you, but I have a trick. I've spent a lot of time thinking about the 10 commandments and
mm,
how to not to memorize them, but to understand them.
mm,
And so I'm just going to talk. I've said this
mm,
many times on my podcast, but I'll say it again for you. Okay.
mm.
There's one commandment, and tell me what you think that one commandment is. It's a one-word answer. Give me the one-word answer. It begins with the letter L. One commandment.
Um,
Take a guess.
one commandment.
There's only one
It is something you
commandment.
have to do.
Huh?
It is something you can do or have
No,
to
it's
do.
something. It's. I'll give you the answer. Okay. The answer
Mm-hmm.
is love. There's one commandment.
Oh, yes.
Love. Okay. Now that one commandment can be broken into two. Can be divided into two.
Mm,
Two commandments. So the one commandment is actually two commandments. So it's
mm.
love of blank and love of blank. What are the two loves in the two commandments?
The one must be okay. That the one of them must be love your neighbor.
Yeah, that's neighbor.
Uh,
So we have
and love
neighbor, and then we have
God.
yeah. So we have one commandment is love. It can be
Mm,
divided into two: love of God first, and then neighbor for God's sake. So that's why
yes.
we have the cross. It's the sign of the vertical for the love of God, the horizontal for the love of neighbor. Okay,
Oh,
but they
I
can
didn't know
be.
that.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
No.
So these two commandments can be further broken down and divided into three commandments each. So we love God in thought,
Mm,
in word, and in deed.
mm,
Okay, and same thing with neighbor. We love neighbor in thought, in word, and in deed. Okay, so we have
mm,
six commandments. We have one commandment, which is two. The two is really six, and the a couple of those commandments for loving God can be further broken down. So this is how I understand the Ten Commandments. We have the first commandment, which is love of God in thought,
mm,
and this corresponds with the ninth and 10th commandments, which pertain to love of neighbor in thought.
mm,
And when we love our neighbor in thought, what are we doing? We're trying not to covet or to desire our neighbor's ox, which is like his ability to work and to make money, to have
mm,
power, his ox.
mm,
And not that's the 10th commandment. And the ninth commandment is not to covet the neighbor's wife. So you talked
mm,
about faithfulness to your wife being a commandment. It begins in
mm,
the mind. When King David was looking at lusting after his neighbor's wife, it began in his thought, and then he spoke to her, and then he had sex with her, then he had a baby with her, and he killed her husband. And you know the story is very dark. It's a dark, very dark story,
mm,
right? So when we love God in thought, we put our desire for power in God and God alone, not in the neighbor's ox. And when we think about the 10th commandment in terms of the love of intimacy with wanting to have sex with your neighbor's wife, we don't desire love, illicit love. We desire to love God. God should be the object of our love, and we should desire intimacy with God. So power and intimacy would be focused on God first. So if you think about a nun or a monk who's devoted their whole life to prayer and to communion with marriage with Christ, that's the first commandment, is that you're committed to getting all of your power from God and all your intimacy with God. So we have the first commandment, the 9th and the 10th, those are understood. The second commandment is to honor with our lips. We don't, we keep the name of God holy and pure. And in the, with respect to neighbor, that's being honest. Don't give false witness. If you're in court and you put your hand on the Bible and you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and then you lie, you're dishonoring God, because God created you for truth. So this is the second commandment. Keep the name of your Lord holy. And then the third commandment is to love God indeed. So how would you imagine that we phrase this third commandment, keeping the third commandment? What do you think that might be? How would we how would we honor God indeed with the third commandment? Do you have any ideas?
To base your actions on the love of God.
Yeah,
I believe
and
that is a very wide perspective, very wide word, but
yeah. But there's a key word, there's a key element which they put in the book of Exodus when they talk about the third commandment. They talk about the Sabbath, the seventh day. Okay, so we have 6 days of creation, and then God rested on the seventh day. So we have to honor the seventh day. We honor creation. We honor God. We rest. We don't work, and we think about God. We serve God. We go to church, etc. on the seventh day. Now, with the Jews, that was the Saturday, and with when the Messiah came, Jesus Christ came, he rose on the first day, on Sunday. So we transferred the Sabbath to our Lord's Day on the first day of the week, Sunday. But the idea is the same. We keep it holy. We set it apart for God. And with respect to neighbor, what does it mean to love the neighbor in action? And indeed, what it means is, like you mentioned, to honor our parents, and to not steal, and to not kill anybody, and be peaceful, chaste, and just. Yeah, so I think of them in terms of obedience, peacefulness, chastity, and justice. So the chastity part is the sixth commandment, which has to do with your sexual propriety. You have a pure sexuality. You're not just having sex with your neighbor's wife, or with different people, fornicating and stuff like that. And theft is obvious, and honoring your parents is a bit more broad, because we have all authority figures, police, teachers, the Pope, and these sorts of things. That's the way that we can honor neighbor for God's sake, and that this all pertains to love of God indeed. So that's how I understand the 10 Commandments. I hope that gives you a framework where you can think very, very practical terms about how loving your neighbor is helping you to love God, and vice versa. They feed off of each other. So the first three are love of God and thought, word, and deed. So it's all about God. And when we picture Moses with the 2 tablets, the first tablet had 3, and the second tablet had 7, because it's God and neighbor. So that should help you. That should help you now to more clearly think about the 10 Commandments, and all of morality. Every choice you make is hopefully falling in line with the teachings of Christ in that, with respect to the 10 Commandments. It's very powerful. So what are you most excited about with the next step? What's coming up? And then we'll jump and we'll change topics. But when it comes to your Catholic faith, are you reading? Are you studying? What's occupying your mind these days?
I'm reading, studying, I think both.
With
I'm
the
trying to
catechism, or what are you reading?
I don't own a Bible, unfortunately. I'm planning to buy one, but mostly I'm like I've tried to read the rules of Christianity, try to find the meaning of a scripture versus what is going on in the world, and trying to find the meaning in that. That is most of like what I that is like um, my journey of spirituality and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is the internet
and
helping you?
what's
Is the internet helping you with your studies?
uh, it is mostly the internet
Okay,
actually.
okay, okay. Yeah, because for me, I started with books, paper books, but
Mm.
you're of the generation where you're going to be using internet almost exclusively for now, yeah?
Mm. I'm trying to also read books, but it is a very new thing for me. So I try to learn it more and more.
Nice. Yeah. Another thing that I do that might be useful for you is I
Mm.
keep a journal. I keep a journal, but I do it on the computer. I keep a journal. What am I doing? And is it good or bad? You know, like I keep a journal. For example, I talked earlier to you about my meals. When I eat a meal,
Mm.
I make a note when I eat and did I remember to say my prayers for that meal, and I keep track of that. And if I was late saying my prayer, I forgot and I said it a little bit later, then I keep note of
Mm.
that. And I can look back on last week or last month and I could see how I've improved with my prayer life or with the sacraments. I keep track, like I went to confession today, so I mark that on my calendar. And I can
Mm.
see how often I've been going to confession and just to keep track of and I keep track of my sins too, not the smallest sins, but if there's something bad, you know, I keep note of my sins and you know, so I keep track of this. I made a computer program so I can keep a journal very quickly and easily, no matter where I am. So maybe it's a little bit too much for some people, but for me, I like to examine myself, and I do an examination at night when I'm laying in bed. I do an examination of my day, just to
Mm.
think about what were the graces that I got from God. Like, was there some moment in the day where I spoke with someone and they had some message for me that was obviously, you know, supernatural, and
Mm.
try to acknowledge, thank God for the graces, and then, you know, ask forgiveness if I was impatient or lazy or gluttonous or any of the typical sins I do every day, the little sins I do every day.
Mm.
So it's an ongoing journey. It's very challenging but rewarding, I guess.
Mm. I guess
So,
so.
what do you want to talk about in terms of politics? Do you have anything you could tell me about with politics? What have you learned as a young man about the world? And you know, when Jesus walked the earth, there was politics and there was Rome, and
Uh,
so it's very interesting. What have you learned, and what are you excited about?
um, I think political. I don't know if you've read my Twitter profile, but
Yeah,
I'm I think what you call libertarian or voluntarist,
yeah.
which I also think is very. I'm trying to find the English word. Very. Er, I started trying to word. I think that philosophy is like very. It's not based like very close to what the Christianity teaches.
I see. Okay.
Like I don't know if you know very much about voluntarism, but it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
basically the philosophy that no one is allowed to hurt anyone or take other people's stuff.
Yeah.
I started my political life as I think was a conservative in Danish sense, which is like basically it is not very different from in Denmark. Conservatism is not very different from United States Democrats, Joe Biden.
Oh yeah.
Actually, not
Oh yeah.
in American politics is much more extreme than Danish politics because like the left wing in the United States is the far left is very much more extreme than the Danish far left. and on the other hand, it is totally the same with the right wing. Um,
Wow.
so, but I started very young as a I think I also was atheist back then, but I called myself conservative. Then I became more of a libertarian. I will say that I'm still very, of course, cultural conservative, but in political sense, I tend to be like more libertarian, voluntarist. Maybe some people will say anarchist, because I believe that no one, not even the state, the government, should be able to steal other people's stuff, hurt people,
Mm.
and curse
Do you
from
like
people.
my shirt? Do you like my shirt?
I'm a very big fan.
You heard about
Oh,
that?
you're from Canada. Okay, great. I saw back there in the last year. I I saw what was happening in Canada, and I support 100% the truckers. I also saw that you are known with the German politician Christine Andersen.
Yeah, my wife met her in Montreal when she came to Montreal.
Hmm. Danish Denmark is a part of the European Union, and I think when it comes to European politics, I'm very more supportive of her and the Romanian guy. I think he is called Christian Terhes.
Nice.
Uh, that is like the two of my favorites in the European Parliament.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I have to choose between liberalism or conservatism, I tend to be more conservative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you think about abortion? Are you anti-abortion like I am?
I am anti-abortion. Before I was like before in times I was very pro-choice, but then I dived a bit deeper, and I started to see how cruel abortion is, and even when it is I think the the double WHO, it's called the World Health Organization, is pushing for, like in Denmark, even Denmark is I think much harder on abortion than very many blue states in the US. In Denmark, you can abort until 12 weeks. I think it's too much too, because I'm against killing babies, of course.
Seems like a
Uh,
pretty common sense approach, but I
mm,
do have one libertarian friend. He tells me there are many types of libertarian, but
mm,
he's not sure about, he's agnostic about the existence of God. So he does not have God or religion. And so
mm,
he also is agnostic about abortion. And I tell him, like, it's very simple. It's not complicated. We should just make a choice for the life of the unborn child. But
mm.
he he's unsure, but he calls himself a libertarian. In your understanding, are libertarians obliged to be anti-abortion, or can they be pro-choice or whatever? From what you've read about libertarianism, are there many different schools of thought? Is it only Christians who are anti-abortion, or can all libertarians look to the principles of do no harm, do no harm? It
Mm.
should be obvious to me you don't kill the baby, right? What do you think?
There are many actually atheist libertarians, even maybe as I am anarchist, who also are very anti-abortion. I think it's very common,
Okay.
but I don't know. I would tend to say yes, but even I've called myself libertarian and have been not anti-abortion. I've thought before, even as a libertarian, that the abortion should be prohibited. Prohibited. But today, I think that the not even should the abortion be. I think it should be mostly out loud.
Okay.
I don't. I think in some cases when the mother is in danger, I think it is okay to prioritize her life first. But
Of
in
course.
most cases, I even if you a mother don't want to bear a child, I think it's her obligation to try to save the life, even so she can freeze down the eggs, or she can make she can, what do you say, surrogacy. She can transfer the child uh, to another womb. But I don't personally agree with that. I think that every mother should bear a child, but I tend to be different in politics and in personal faith.
Yeah.
Personal, I believe that I am strictly anti-abortion.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, do you agree with me when it comes to creation that evolution is nonsense, it's silly, it's stupid, and that according to religious tradition, according to Christian tradition, the whole universe is created, 7, 8,000 years ago, something like that. Is that too extreme for you? Do you believe in thousands of years, like hundreds of thousands or millions of years? Like some Catholics believe, a lot of Catholics believe in a very old Earth. Where do you stand on that? Have you looked into it deeply? Do you have a strong position on that?
Uh, I actually, when according to science, I am like, I don't know actually. Uh, I don't, as a personally, I don't, I tend not to want to have a opinion about how the Earth is, because I don't know. So like about that, it could be 10,000 years old, it could be million years old, it could be more and less. I don't know.
Okay.
But
Okay.
about the evolution, I don't believe that humans came from apes. I think it's
Yeah.
nonsense. I think it
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't make sense to me. I have a lot of atheists in my family, and even those who call themselves Christians are tend to believe in the evolution theory. But I don't. I think it sounds very nonsense.
I want to give a shout out to my friend Katie in the live chat. She's in the live chat now, and she's a creationist, and she's been saying a few nice comments, and she's been blessing you, Christopher. Uh,
Think,
I pronounced your name wrong there, but yeah, shout out to Katie. I'm gonna have her hopefully on the podcast too. It's nice to meet people from around
hmm?
the world and to meet different people and talk to them. That's why I do the podcast. My
Hmm?
name is David, by the way, Katie,
Hmm.
and send me an email and we'll get in touch. But I interviewed a guy from Ireland yesterday. It's the first time I've interviewed someone from Ireland. I've interviewed someone in Greece.
Hmm.
What other countries have I reached? A guy in Africa. So it's pretty fantastic technology. A lot of people like to or they're very angry with technology because there's pornography and these sorts of things. But technology is good. It's part of our world, and it can be used for good with the all the information we have on the Bible, on religion, and all the information we're sharing, and these sorts of things. But
Hmm.
yeah, so my friend Katie's saying she's very shy, but you don't need to worry about that, Katie. You can come on and talk to me. I'm not going to bite you. But when it comes to pornography, that's one of the most evil and satanic things. Hopefully, you weren't contaminated by that at a young age, like a lot of people today are. But if you were, hopefully, you're recovering from that now. Just talk as candidly as you can about you and your friends. Is it touching the lives of the young people in Scandinavia? This plague of satanic pornography.
Yes, very much. It is. I think in most of Europe, where there aren't laws against it, I think it is a very big problem. I think both me and my friends have been victims of it. You can say, but I'm like I've tried not to. So I am personally very against it. I think it's there's many perspectives, which is why I'm against it. I think it's a humiliation of people. I think it is first it is humiliating. Second, it is I don't believe that you should that I think that sex should be based on love. I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be. I don't know what the word it is.
Lust.
Yes.
Pleasure, just for pleasure, for pleasure, for pleasure. Me. Give me pleasure, and then you end up objectifying the woman, raping the woman, killing the woman. This happens more often than you would think, because pornography desensitizes us to the humanity of the woman. And if you talk to a killer who rapes and kills women, they will always tell you pornography. It started with pornography. It's part of I believe it's a supernatural, preternatural, demonic pathway, just like marijuana. We talked about marijuana. I believe that demons can come in. You make a contract with the demons, and they have power, and they come into your life, and then you go down darker and darker and darker path. And I think that sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Now, rock and roll, I mean, that's maybe the least dangerous one. I don't know, but the power of music. Plato, the philosopher Plato, talked about the power of music. He said, I could run the whole world if you give me just the power of the choice of the music that will play for the masses. I will control the whole world. So that's what Plato said about the power of music. So sex, drugs, and rock and roll, we always talk about them as, rebellion. If you're going to be a rebellious spirit, those are usually the three that we characterize.
I tend to agree.
So it's a dangerous world. It's a very, very dangerous world that we're living in here. We're coming up to the 1 hour mark. I want to let you, as my guest, I always ask my guest to sort of conclude the show, to talk about a positive thought, something nice for the listener, because a lot of my listeners actually are atheists. Okay, I don't know if you know that about my show. A lot of them are atheists, many Christians, of course, too, but of different kinds. But especially for the atheists, I want you to talk in very general terms, from your perspective, about hope. Where do we find the hope to continue living in a world that's very tragic, very difficult? And a lot of people have financial problems. A lot of people have emotional problems and relationship problems. And without God, it's kind of hard to resist the temptation to go for suicide. And now in Canada, suicide's becoming normal, where the government will help you to commit suicide. And it's become like a business for the government to kill people. And just like they kill the babies in the womb, they kill granny when she's old, but now they want to kill just regular people who are depressed and make it easier to die. And they say painless, but the pains of hell are infinite. Okay, the pains of hell are infinite, and they last for eternity. So it doesn't really work. Like, if we're going to try to save someone from pain, suicide is not the answer. What would you say to someone that's struggling in this dark world, to give them hope, even if they're an atheist? What would you say that would sort of give them hope to live?
I would say this is more like from a Christian perspective. Actually, if I tend to struggle, if I tend to have hard times, bad thoughts, if I'm worried about something, I tend to actually I pray actually. I think when you speak to God, I don't know if you have the same experience, but if you speak to God, you actually he actually gives you power. You feel power. You feel almost. I think you feel full of power. I think it's the word in English. You go from you have you feel powerless to like feel more powerful. I think, and I my advice would be like find hope in something. Find the that sounds like a cliche, but that's even try to talk to God. Try to find out if He exists. Reach out to Him. I think He's one of the only existences who can actually make you more powerful than you really are.
Yeah. That's excellent advice and very simple because you know, God now, yeah, I mean, now you know that God is there, he's watching, he loves you, he's
Mm,
gentle. He's gentle, but he's powerful. That's what you talked about. He's
mm,
powerful. And imagine many of the saints talk about this where you imagine a movie star. Oh, I wish I could meet this person, or a king
mm,
or a queen or a
mm,
president or whatever. And you think, oh, if only I could ask him a question or ask him to solve my problem.
mm,
Well, we have something much bigger than a
yeah,
king, and he's always there listening. He's waiting for you to ask him for help.
mm,
He's
it's so
waiting for
good.
you to ask for help. He wants you to ask for help. So,
Mm,
this is what the saints talk about, how it's very astonishing that we have
mm,
access to power of an ally, someone who loves us, who wants the best for us, and we
mm,
don't ask him. We're not asking. This is beyond crazy. Because if you had access to a powerful man, a rich man who's going to give you an inheritance, they're going to leave you everything, all the power, all the gold, all everything.
mm,
You would be obsessed every day to make that connection and to communicate and to be sure that this is going to give you the inheritance. But we have the inheritance. Jesus said
mm,
we have the inheritance if only we give our lives to him. Now, there is sacrifice. Yes, there is pain. You're going to suffer. When people say, hey, why don't you come to my party and we'll do sex, drugs, and rock and roll? You have to say no. So you don't get the little pleasures that the godless atheist can have with their sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But we have much
mm,
more. We have the eternal inheritance of everything that we want in terms of fulfillment to be truly happy. Because if you look at people that are on drugs and they're doing all the sex that they want, look at their face. Are they fulfilled? Are they happy? Are they peaceful? Did they sleep well at night? No. They're only
mm,
tortured. They're only tortured. So this is why we're able to say no to the small pleasures, the temptations of Satan, and the temptations of the world, because we know that's nothing compared to God and having peace in your heart, be able to sleep at night, and not only that, to after we die, to go to heaven and to have perfect fulfillment. So yes, we should
mm.
turn to God, as you said, and He's when you repented, you personally, did God, how many times did he slap you and beat you and humiliate you and put your face into your filth and say, this is what you did before you converted? Never. He didn't do that, right? He only was gentle with you. He was only loving.
Mhm.
So why is Christopher Hitchens or whatever atheist angry at this nice, gentle, good, loving God? Why? I don't understand why they're angry. Why are they angry?
It is the common atheist argument. If God exists, why do so many bad things happen in the world? And there are two simple answers to that. One of them is God is not bad. It's people who do bad things. It is when people do things with a bad heart, bad things happen. The second is sometimes God wants to test you. He wants to make you stronger. He wants to make you better. So God is good, but it's not like your what can you say? It's not like you can just ask and get everything you want right now. It's not that. I actually thought about it like that in the many years ago, but I changed my view. It is not like okay, I'm Christian now. Now I just can now I just get more lucky than everybody else because now I'm God's friend. I think many Christians, when they're totally new to it, thinking about that way, but it's far from that.
Yeah.
It's far from the truth.
You remember when Jesus was about to undergo his trial with the suffering and the passion and the death on the cross. He prayed in the garden. He prayed to God the Father. He said, "Let this cup, this chalice, pass away from me, if it's possible, but not my will be done, your will be done." So when we think about becoming a Christian, Jesus said you have to carry your cross. You have to pick up your cross and follow me. So there will be temptation. There will be suffering. There will be trials. And Jesus Christ, the God-man who came and took on humanity, took on flesh, he suffered, he died. And he, in his human nature, it was repulsive to him to suffer, to be tortured unjustly. It's one thing if you're a criminal and you get, like the thief on the cross said, the good thief on the cross next to Jesus said to his friend on the other side of Jesus, he said, "Look, you and I are guilty. We deserve to be punished. But this man is the Messiah. He's the Son of God. He does not deserve it. But we deserve this punishment, but he doesn't." So imagine how Jesus is being tortured and killed by guilty people, but he himself is innocent. And he said, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." So the depth of his love, his compassion, we have to put our little problems into perspective and think about Christ, the patience of Christ, the tolerance of Christ, and his love for those guilty criminals who tortured him even though he's innocent, and they killed him even though he's innocent. So we have to draw on the strength of Christ so that when we get struck on one cheek, we turn the other cheek. We could be like Jesus. Very, very challenging. So yeah, when you become Christian, you don't just win the lottery. You go buy a lottery ticket, you're going to win guaranteed because you're Christian now. No, it's not like that. But in heaven, we'll have the love, the peace, the joy, fulfillment, the freedom. You know, true freedom is in God because God is freedom. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting to be Christian, but it's not what we might have thought before becoming Christian. That's for sure.
No.
For sure. So God bless you, my brother. I hope you come back and share with me and with my listeners. I hope you come back in the future and talk about your baptism. What was it like doing a general confession where you confessed all of your sins? How did you feel when you went into the confessional? How did you feel when you came out of the confessional? And how does it, it's not about your feelings, but the feelings are part of the journey. It's not the most important part, but you can talk about the feelings to encourage people who are maybe scared to go back to confession or scared to come back to the church, because a lot of people fall away. They're raised Catholic, but they don't practice the faith, and they hear a young man that's on fire for Christ and the sacraments, and then they get the courage to come back themselves. So we're going to be looking to you to come back and to encourage us all, okay?
I would love to.
God bless you, and please remember me and mine in your prayers. I've got a perpetual mass being said for you and your family. So I've enrolled you and your family in a perpetual mass, which means that every day until the end of time, there's a mass, the holy sacrifice of the mass being said for you and your family. So that's a lot of graces going to come for you to help you, to give you spiritual strength in the battle for many years to come. Okay? So take good care. God bless you, and we'll talk very soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.